I want to do a quick video on the side window grid that I posted. I think it was last week. I've been messing around with it over Christmas break, and I just printed one for the other window. So I had it on my passenger side. This is the driver's side. And I thought I would just show you how it goes together. So figured we'll walk through this together. It'll make a little bit more sense, and you'll be able to see how I designed it and all that. But first, the grid. So the grid has to be assembled, and I'm just super gluing them together. Again, for my use, I actually think super glue is probably enough, but I also don't plan to mount anything to it or hang anything to it. I think it's just a cool kind of look. You could argue it's more of a brush guard, so if you're off-roading and trying to protect your windows, hits this instead of your window. I don't know. I'm going for aesthetics more than anything else, but I do have a couple ideas on how using the rail that's on the roof line, because it's a lip, making clips that hang off of that and down, so that would support the weight. And then you could kind of, whether it be through some kind of bungee cord or other mechanism, clip it to this so it doesn't, move that way. So, it's usable, but for me, it's gonna be more of looks. I'm gonna run it for a while see what I think, get some feedback. But I went out with it this weekend, had it parked off somewhere, and as I was walking back towards the side that has it on there, and I thought, that actually looks really good. So that's what caused me to kind of print one for this side. So we're gonna start with the grid, and I wanted to show you kind of how these go together. So you can see these little tabs here. I designed those to slot into recesses with the same shape, okay? So that means when you put them together, they just kind of lock into place. And then there's numbers. I don't know if you can see the number on there. See, that says 3. And that helps me make sure that I'm aligning the right one. So this is 1 and 2. They're all flipped now because I mirrored it when I printed this one out. So 1 and 2. So I need to find 2. So there's 2. So the way this goes together is 2 matches 2. If you can see that. So 2 and 2. And then all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop a little bit of super glue in the recess, and then I'm gonna put them together. I've got a little rubber mallet just in case I need to kind of, little persuasion, and just kind of go around it until it's all put together. That's how I built it. Like I said, I've been playing around with it on the other side and it's been great. So no reason to believe this won't hold up pretty good. I did, through the advice of others, look at using Send Cut Send, which if you're familiar with that service, it's a great service. You can design a lot of the stuff that I design in 3D. You could send it off to them and they'll actually produce it in, via CNC or laser jet cut or whatever, in a way that then you can, have an actual, call it finished piece versus, what I have, which is a 3D printed piece. So it's a pretty cool feature or service. But when I looked it up sorry, my super glue bottle's clogged. Shocking, right? Super glue's a pain in the butt. But anyway, I looked it up starting with ABS. What would it cost to have it done in ABS? Now I can print ABS, but it's the assembly part where I start to worry about the, rigidity of it all. And I think when I looked at one for each side, printed it or laser cut one single piece in ABS, it was $102 a piece, which at the end of the day is not terrible. I think the frame is still fine, 3D printed, the way that I have it set up, which I'll show you when I install it on the car. But for the grid, it was for ABS plastic was $102 a piece. When I switched over to an aluminum, something that is obviously going to provide a lot more strength, durability, it was $1,000, and that is no interest, obviously. So again, for my purpose, for looks, again, I wouldn't hesitate to strap lighter things to it if you wanted to do, I don't know what people strap to these things, but I think it'd be okay with certain certain things, but I'll show you when I get it installed with some bungees, like how it could work, and we'll kind of get into that. But anyway, I just wanted to share that was an option people had recommended. That is a better solution, and just letting you know that as I looked it up, it's a little pricey. But anyway, so a little bit of glue in each one of these. You don't need a lot in each one of these indents. And then I just drop this in place. I think you can see me from there. And these snap in pretty nicely. And then this is the activator spray. I don't know if it works real well in this scenario because it's got to get down into the cracks, but no harm. So two and two installed. And then so on this end it's 3. So here's 3, and we'll do the same thing again. And we're just gonna go around and do it for all. So I won't bore you with all of this. I'll hit high speed and get through all this so you don't have to watch. Sorry about that. Getting over I don't know, whatever's going around these days. Cold, sinus infection, ear infection, all the things. But anyway, this is just the process as you go around. And activator, and just keep going until it's all assembled. So I'll probably actually just pause here. I'll finish this and I'll come back when it's all assembled and show you, so you don't have to sit through even the high speed. So, but it's easy as that. So just give me a couple minutes and I'll be right back. Okay, without boring you, it's assembled. So you can see, it's pretty good. You know, if you really wanted a little better, like I think this is pretty good, but you could easily sand a lot of this down, prime and paint it, and it probably would look really good. You could get rid of some of these seams. The seams aren't that noticeable. If you look, you can kind of see that seam. Up close you can, but you know, generally speaking, it's not too bad. But so this is the grid. I've got all the pieces that go around the frame of the window, and I'll show you how all that goes together. And then there are these little clips. They go into this slot here, and that's what kind of holds the pieces together once it's installed, so you can do it while it's on the window. And once you kind of lock all that in, that thing is there and it's not going anywhere. So I'll show you. And then these little screws, they actually go through the grid and into these tabs, and they just screw right into these tabs. And that's what holds the grid in place. So super simple, very easy to do. The biggest downside, I would say, to this is print time. So I have 2 printers, so I can kind of run simultaneously. I can print the frame on two separate prints, I'd say in about, I don't know, 5 or 6 hours. I think that's what it was. And then each one of these, there's 8 of them. They take about an hour and a half per piece. So times 8, I mean, it's a decent amount of time. Now again, I can cut a lot of that time in half because I'm running 2 printers at once. But it's a lot. It doesn't use a lot of filament. Like at the end of the day, the amount of material being used is, it's not bad. But it's just the time it takes to print. So that's the downside. So that's my hesitation on putting it on my website and listing it for sale, is if I consume both my printers, it's gonna get in the way of potential other things that I'm trying to sell and I have to produce. And the problem with that is because I have to constantly hit print and swap out and print and swap out, 8 times for this. I'm not so worried about the frame pieces, but for this 8 times, like it's just a lot. So that's the issue. But if I were to sell this and I'd had these manufactured by Send Cut Send, I mean, I'd probably have to sell it $250, $300 for a pair, $150 for one. Like, I don't know if that's a fair price. Let me know what you think. But so right now it's for me. If someone's like really, really interested, you know, and weren't in a hurry, like I'd be willing to produce it on some downtime in between prints, and you know, it might take a week or so to print it. But once I had everything assembled, I could send it to you. You could see it, like it's super compact once it's printed. But so that's what I'm dealing with. So let me know what you think. And if you really are interested, then you know, maybe we can work something out. Just toss me a note. The best way to get a hold of me, go to my website, jasonthejimny.com. There's a couple different contact forms. Send me a note. That's the easiest. Or jasonandthejimny@gmail.com. You can post on YouTube. I'll see it. I'll respond to you. But I don't want to have a back and forth dialogue on YouTube. So just send me a note if you want to walk through whether or not you want one of these. But let's go to the car and let's start to install this there, and we'll go from there. Okay, hopefully you can hear me all right. I should probably get a microphone or something at some point, but anyway, I just want to show you how this installs. I'm going to pop my window open. Now, as I mentioned, you saw this does allow you to still open and close your window, so that's a good sign. But I don't have these numbered, but they kind of only go in one way. And the one thing I did with the end that's over here with the hinge side is my lip is a lot shallower, because so it doesn't interfere with this side of it. So I just kind of let this rest closed, and then this goes over. You can kind of figure out which piece goes where. So that sits on there, right? And then we can, I think almost all of these straight pieces are the same. I think there's one that's got a slight angle to it because of the angled side of the window over here. So you've got although no, that's got the shallow end on it, so you'll know which one that is. So if I find a straight piece, so if you look at these, you can see how this one is shorter. So this one, it still locks in, but it just gives you some freedom around this part of the window. So I like to, let's see, I'm not sure I'm doing this right. Hold on. I actually think this goes down here. There we go. That goes there. This one goes here. And I find my other curved piece with a shallow lip. And that goes here. And then you start dropping in your straight pieces. And you can pop this back open. There's two on the top, two on the bottom. Then you've got your corners. So these you can kind of see that these have a bit of a different shape to them, because this has an angle on the swoop. So you'll be able to figure out, just because they fit perfectly in there, what goes where. So this one with the longer swoop goes down here, and it locks in to that shape of the window really good. And then, like I said, one of these I think has a slight angle on it, which I think is this one. And that angle is there just to, again, support all of this. It's the fact that that's an angle. And then these are straight. I can't set these in here yet. Well, I might stay on there. Because they'll fall off. But it's a really snug, nice fit. And so, you know, this is on here. I don't have any of those keys in there yet. But you can see that this frame is now on here. And then I'm gonna run around with all of the keys here. And I use these just in case I can't get them in, but you just pop them in. Oh, don't drop them. Put them in my pocket. Use both hands. Kind of just set them in there. They've got a bit of a tapered edge, so they kind of set in there. And then I just use these to squeeze it in there nice and snug. Now that one's locked in. Then I just go around the entire window. And again, you get a nice, snug, locked in place. Again, it locks to the frame. So once it's in there, you know, it's in there. But what I like about the way that the frame is set up, it's removable. So if that's the reason why I'm not super gluing these in place, is I don't want it to be permanent. I want the ability to take it out, and so the frame ends up being a removable frame, and then your glass or your grid is also removable. That's what I meant by these not staying in place until you get the keys in here. And so when it's, you know, at the end of the day, if you don't like it, you want to take it off, it's all temporary. Now, if you would have super glued these in place, you'd never get this off. You'd have to break it off. And I didn't think that made a whole lot of sense. One of the things I was thinking of, which is still an option, is that this half of this, or probably this half, could be a single piece that slides over and then you piece the other side on so it kind of sandwiches in there. So that's another option, but this just fit better on the printer to get all these pieces in here. So that's why I kind of did it this way, is I was thinking about printing efficiency at the same time. And then what's also nice is that once you get this frame with the grid on here and you put all the screws in, that locks all this together too, so it's not going to come apart. So you got kind of double protection in there to make sure that this isn't going anywhere. And like I said, I'll get you up a little closer here in a minute when I get this all put together, and you'll see what I mean. This side gets a little tricky because you don't have as much working room, but it works once you kind of get it started and you get these clamps in here. Or you can always start and clamp one end in, which is sometimes a little easier. Oh, wait, that's not going to work because then I can't get it set back there. So you're going to have to do it from here. But, you know, a little fumbling, little finessing, you'll get it. Once you kind of get one end started, it's easier to kind of get the other end in. So there you go. Whoop. Add it. There. Okay, that one was a little tricky, but I got it. This one probably a little tricky too. But they all go in, I promise. I did it on the other side, and again, you just kind of got to persuade it a little bit. That's why I have these grips. But yeah, once they get started, they go right in. Only got a couple more left. These ones that are not on kind of this end of the window are super easy. They go right in pretty good. Probably should clean my window before I put the grid on, although the grid comes off, but my window's a little dirty. And then you might have to squeeze like this last bit together just to make sure that your last key goes in there, because it is a pretty perfect fit. There you go. So all the keys are in. So you can see like this is on there, right? And the window still opens, window still closes, which is great. And then you just go to the grid. So I've got all my screws. This sits on top of here. They only goes on one way. There are no threads in the grid, so it just slides through, and then you just get them all started in the threads on the tabs. Now, could you use threaded inserts, different, you know, kind of hardware? Of course. My goal was 100% 3D printed. And, you know, in some cases you could argue like, well, why? You know, I think if you saw one of my recent Facebook posts, I enjoy the challenge. Honestly, like, I really love the idea of like, what can you do that's 100% 3D printed? And that's what I did here. I wanted to see what it would take. And as you can see, I did it. So I'll go around and tighten these up when I'm done, but I like to leave them loose because you do need a little bit of leeway in some of this stuff to line it up and get it in place. And like anything, it's like, don't tighten until you've got everything in there. Make sure they're not cross-threaded. It's very easy, obviously, with being plastic, super easy to cross-thread. So it gets easier as you go because everything starts lining up a little bit better. But as I said, they will go in, I promise. Give me a little bit of trouble, but it'll go. There you go. So then you can just tighten them all up. Problem with my shop is I've done a decent amount of woodworking out here too, stuff I've done around the house, and it leaves a lot of sawdust, as you can imagine. So let me take you off this and let me show you. So you can see now that these are all in. Got all these in there nice and tight. You know, I forgot to pop the the supports out of the middle of these. I'll do that here in a second, but you can see, like, I can open and close that window from here. I mean, it's pretty sturdy. And you can see that the frame up close. So it's like, once it's in there, I mean, it's locked in pretty good. Let me, I'm gonna close the window from the inside because I don't need it open. I use it to open and close as I'm installing this side. You can see the clearance here is pretty thin, so that's why everything is a little smaller over there. But I wanted to grab a bungee, which I thought I had. My garage is a mess. I feel like I say that in every video. My garage is a mess. I'm really good at picking up, but I'm not good at picking up while I'm working. So, but anyway, but you see how these work. Like, you could put a bungee like this on here and strap it all the way across, hold it on there. Like, you could, you know, again, I don't know what you're gonna put on there. These hooks back here, or these holes, you could run them across. You know, so, you know, when you think about the use, like, I wouldn't say it's completely useless. I also wouldn't highly recommend you hang a bunch of weight from it because it's attached to your glass, right? So you think about just the downward pressure of the glass. Like, I definitely wouldn't want to, you know, overdo that, hit a bump, the pressure shatters that window, the last thing you want. So my thought is I'm designing a little hanger here that would wrap around this, come down and give you a loop. And then once it's, you know, hanging, whatever you hang from it, then you could strap to it with like a bungee. So you don't get the bouncing this way, and then the weight is all, I'm not saying I would suggest put a ton of weight on this either, but I think for the stuff that you would put on here, it's more than enough. So I think I shared in the Facebook group there's a, what is it called? Protopacks, I think, or Rotopacks, I guess what it's called. These jerry cans, gas, water, et cetera, that they sell. And I designed a mount where it hangs, it clips onto here with a hanger here that holds the handle in place. So technically that's the weight. And then I designed something that snaps into this grid, goes through the center of it, and then you can screw it on and tighten into place. So it doesn't even require bungees. I don't have one of those cans, but I did find a 3D prototype I could work around. That's how I designed it. It's a pretty cool little system. So it's something that you could look at, figure out if you wanted to do something like that. Like I can share what I designed for that. But yeah, so now I have it on both sides. So there's this side, and if I come around, you have already seen this one. This one's been living on here for a little over a week and driving around. So yeah, it's a cool look. I think, you tell me. Like, I think if you just look at that, it looks like it belongs, right? So anyway, I just wanted to kind of walk through the assembly, show you how it was built, how I designed it, and how it installs. And again, if you're truly interested, reach out. We can work something out. I probably will not put it on my website as a purchasable item. Although I could put the STL on there for people that want to print it themselves. So maybe I'll do that and just sell the file that so people can print it themselves, so they can go through a third-party service and get it done. That's another option I can look at. But I didn't really want to do it until I've had a little bit more testing, playing around with it, which I feel like I've done. The only thing that I might do is what I said earlier. I might take the grid off, sand it down, throw some maybe build up primer on there, sand it again, and then paint it, and get a little bit of a better finish. I don't think the finish is terrible. It's got a little rough pattern on here from the build plate that you print on. But it would give me a chance to kind of maybe hide some of those seams. And if I leave it on, that's probably what I'll do. I'll probably run through and take the grids off, sand them, paint them, and see if I can make them look a little better. They are a little, this is PETG carbon fiber, so it's fairly durable, heat resistant, but it probably will fade in the sun too. So it's probably best to get it primed and painted and cleaned up that way. So that's probably my next little project. I'll let you know if I do that. But yeah, that's it. I think it's pretty neat. I think it looks good. Would love to know what you think. Please let me know down below. Waste of time, cool look, whatever, I can take it. I do 90% of this stuff for me, and then I share it out. So if it's not for you, it's not for you, and I'm okay with that. So anyway, that's it. I'm going to drop this outside of my regular schedule just because I know I just recently shared a quick video on it, and I wanted to share a more detailed video on it, and I didn't want to wait until it falls into my cadence because it'll be a little ways out. So I wanted to keep it while it was current. So anyway, yeah, that's it. Let me know what you think. I'll see you on the next one.